Are we really talking about trading Ketel Marte again? We have all the reasons why. Reports point to the Diamondbacks being motivated to trade Ketel Marte, and we give our reasons why it's still a very, very stupid idea. Also, we're going to answer your Mailbag Monday questions and talk about being indicted for federal betting charges as a MLB pitcher. All
Ohtani?
of this, no, not Ohtani, Damon. Maybe next time. All this in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere. Well, SkeeYee and happy Monday to you all. Welcome in to another edition of the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. My name is Montilla, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. Thrilled to have you guys joining us here on another beautiful Monday morning here in Phoenix, Arizona. Of course, this show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Make sure to go download that app right now. Sign up and use our code of PHNX to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply over there. I am joined, of course, on the ones and twos today by the incomparable Damon dog himself, Damon Fairall. Damon, we have big news today, including Ketel Marte trade rumors and a pitcher being indicted on federal charges involving gambling.
Sounds like we got him.
No,
Sounds like we finally got his ass, Derek.
We didn't. I don't know why I phrased it that way. I specifically led you into that. It's not him.
Wait, what? You're not talking?
We're not talking Ohtani. We're talking about Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz.
Criminals still out there on the streets, Derek.
Yeah, well, they're cleaning it up. They're trying their best to clean it up. It feels like every day now something happens where the FBI or federal investigators are looking into sports in some way, shape, or form. This has been an ongoing saga for a while with Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz. They were suspended a while back based on some allegations about them being involved with a gambling scheme. More than just gambling on baseball, more than just gambling on sports. And I just have to ask, what in the hell are we doing? Like, Emmanuel Clase is one of the best relief pitchers in all of baseball. To get wrapped up in something like this is actually the dumbest thing I've ever seen, especially considering the amounts of money that he was allegedly making over this. But Guardians pitchers Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz have been indicted by prosecutors in Brooklyn. Once again, that Brooklyn office is doing a lot of work lately. Prosecutors in Brooklyn on charges involving sports betting, according to Jeff Passan and others that have reported on this. Ortiz was arrested on Saturday at the Boston International Airport. Meanwhile, Clase is not currently in custody, and they have been charged with wire fraud conspiracy, honest services wire fraud conspiracy, conspiracy to influence sports betting by bribery, and money laundering conspiracy for their alleged scheme to rig bets on pitches thrown. The indictment details an alleged scheme that involves these two pitchers purposely throwing balls so gamblers could bet on pitches being balls or strikes. Like first of all, I don't even know where to go with this. I don't even know where to start with this. Obviously, this is something that can be easily manipulated. And the very idea that strange bets coming through and guys winning tons of money on something as minimal as balls and strikes, which is just such a unpredictable, crazy thing to be hitting on, that I don't really know. I don't know why you thought in a million years that you would get away with this. The allegations from prosecutors in the indictment say that on June 15th, Ortiz was paid $5,000 for throwing an intentional ball. And Clase, meanwhile, received $5,000 for orchestrating and facilitating it. Co-conspirators in the scheme, according to this report, won at least $400,000 on fraudulent wagers relating to these two pitchers, relating to Clase, and $60,000 relating to Ortiz. And then Ortiz at one point received, and this is my favorite part of this, Jeff Passan wrote that Ortiz received a payment of 90,000 Dominican pesos, which is approximately $1,400 US. Clase directed him to lie about the purpose of the money if asked and say, this payment is for a horse, according to prosecutors, and Ortiz replied, okay, perfect. I mean, honestly, $1,400 for a horse, that's not even very much money. I won't lie. My dad used to own a racing horse. That's not a lot of money. This is just so insane when you think about Emmanuel Clase being one of the elite relief pitchers in all of Major League Baseball, one of the best closers in the game. And now he and Ortiz are facing up to 65 years in prison if convicted on all the charges that I listed earlier. And MLB has contacted federal law enforcement at the outset of this investigation and has this was a statement from ESPN, that MLB contacted federal law enforcement at the outset of its investigation and has fully cooperated throughout the process. We are aware of the indictment and today's arrest, and our investigation is ongoing. That was according to the league, according to MLB. Ortiz was placed on non-disciplinary paid leave in July, and then Clase followed later in the same month. The pitchers had their absence extended until further notice at the end of August as the league continued its gambling investigation. This is such a ridiculous thing to get caught up in. And I know that goes without saying overall. Like, there's no need for me to sit here and wag my finger. I think most of us can all agree that this is despicable. This is the reason why, things like sports gambling have all of these dangers and all of these things that feel unfair about it. Well, when you have people manipulating the game for the purpose of them making money, and bribing the players to take part in it, then yeah, it's literally not. It's not fair. It impacts so many, aspects of this, which is already a volatile area for a lot of people, right? But again, the fixing of games and taking bribes, that's something that, I think that in general, you would be naive to not think would come along with how popular sports betting has become in this country. What's crazy though is I can understand, and short stack goblin, absolutely right. This was happening long before legal sports gambling. This was happening when sports gambling was illegal. This was happening just to fix games in general, right? So you're not wrong about that. But I think what's crazy about it is when you start looking at the sums of money, right? Clase received $5,000 for facilitating the one incident on June 15th, right? That's a one-time payment. Emmanuel Clase was on a 4.9 was being paid just in 2025 alone from the Cleveland Guardians, $4.9 million. He did not pitch the full season due to the disciplinary action against him. But if you take the amount of money he made of $4.9 million and do some simple math here, he made $105,000 plus for every out he recorded. What in the world are you doing risking that career, making that much money per pop fly, per ground out, per strikeout that you are achieving on the mound as a pitcher to go off and get involved with a scheme like this? It's crazy, and it impacts baseball far beyond everything that, of course, is going on just with this particular case. It impacts, all of Major League Baseball, right? And most importantly, guys, just for a second, imagine the Diamondbacks being in a position like this, especially late in the season, with not losing their top reliever, not losing like AJ Puck and, Justin Martinez due to injury, losing them due to a gambling scheme. You know what I mean? Like, especially considering how good the Guardians were and what was on the line for them as they lost those two guys. It's just crazy, and again, this is kind of what's the point of it? Well, the point of it is that two baseball players, and not just, especially in Emmanuel Clase's case, like just a no-name baseball player nobody knows. No, one of the best pitchers in baseball has been arrested on these, indicted on these allegations, and that's going to have just a huge impact here as we go forward. And again, just a huge impact on that Guardians franchise. It sucks for them. But also, Killer X again wants to compare this to Saul Frank. Saul Frank bet on baseball, and I'm not going to say that that's right. It's not right, and they know it. Players know not to bet on baseball. Not exactly the same thing as being paid to fix games. So I wouldn't put those two in the same category. However,
wasn't Saul Frank like betting on like the Dbacks when he was in like single A and stuff like that? That was kind of more the vibe of what was going on.
Yeah, for sure. And again, you're not wrong about it being very similar in the fact that you know it's wrong and you did it anyway. I will say, in the case of these guys, they were getting paid money. Meanwhile, Saul Frank was betting a very minor amount and risking his career for that. Like that's
like $13.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not to knock it or diminish it, because it's, again, he did break the rules, and you're absolutely right. He was suspended for it. But
and we don't unit shame on this podcast.
What's that?
We don't unit shame on this podcast.
Yeah, no, for sure. We did not unit shame on this podcast. But again, it is dumb, and it's something that is against the rules, and there's no reason to risk not only your career for something as stupid as that, but especially in this case, no one's going to go to jail for betting on sports if they're a baseball player. They're just potentially going to lose their job or their career. They are now facing up to 65 years in prison if convicted on all charges. That's not the only thing that we're mad about here that don't involve the Diamondbacks. Damon's very angry. We're mad about Ketel Marte and the rumors, but Damon's mad about the Dodgers now not hiring or not spending on guys, right? Is that it? Or is it more of the fact that the Dodgers are essentially going to release some players that they don't plan on bringing back and somehow freeing up nearly $90 million in payroll space for themselves?
Yeah, here it is, Derek. According to Bob Nightingale, our friend Bob Nightingale, of course, the Dodgers will be as aggressive as anyone in free agency this winter. I know that's a shock to all the people in this chat. The Dodgers have freed up $87 million, Derek, with Clayton Kershaw, Michael Conforto, Chris Taylor, and Kirby Yates coming off the books this winter. Now, let me read those 4 names for you one more time. Clayton Kershaw, Michael Conforto, Chris Taylor, and Kirby Yates will be coming off the books this winter, Derek. And that will be $87 million in the pockets of the Dodgers, just burning a hole. Just ready to go, ready to spend, ready to get Kyle Tucker, ready to get Murakami.
Let's make this team better.
Yeah,
we need to make this team better.
This team needed to make massive improvements on last year's roster, on the year before that as well, obviously. What a world we live in, Derek. This is what I tweeted when I first saw this. What a world we live in where the St. Louis Cardinals have the 16th highest active payroll in all of baseball at $86.9 million. The Los Angeles Dodgers freed up $87 million of payroll by letting these 4 absolute bums walk out the door. And guess what? Well, welcome to the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. Welcome to the Bo Bichette sweepstakes. Like, they're going to be involved in every single big free agent because they have the money to do it. And meanwhile, the Diamondbacks are sitting up here going, well, I don't know if we could afford to pay Ketel Marte with this pitching staff. We might have to cut some corners and try to get better at pitching and get worse at hitting in the process. Here's an idea. How about, baseball, all teams are just trying to improve on what they already have. It's just, we're playing by different rules than our biggest competition. It's brutal.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But again, it's the reason why we talked about it the other day. And as much as we want to scream about the Dodgers spending, we also have to scream about the Pirates not spending and the White Sox not spending, and this needing a floor to encourage these teams to pay more so that they can be the ones that swoop in and get these free agents instead of the Dodgers being the only ones that can afford to pay them or willing to open up their, checkbook. Like, again, the most frustrating part about the Dodgers is the fact that players don't even have to take a discount to go play for them.
No.
Sure, you want to go play for a contender. You want to play for a winner. The Dodgers are a great choice. However, in other situations in the past, historically, if you wanted to do that, especially a team that has committed as much money to their roster as the Dodgers have, you would have to take a pay cut yourself and do it more for the glory of getting a championship rather than for the most amount of money you as a player could achieve. And that was always the debate. Like, how much of it how big of a sellout are you that you just want to go join another team that's already winning championships
it's the
instead
Kevin
of
Durant
doing your own thing?
Conundrum, as Killer Rex puts here in the chat.
Right. But again, it's like, if you can also afford to get paid by that team more than any other team can afford to pay you, then where's the downside, right?
You get paid the most, you get to win the most, you get to live in, I know people hate LA, but as Jason Armstrong puts it here in the chat.
When you're rich, living in LA is kind of okay.
When you're rich, living in LA is pretty sweet. Yeah. You get to live in, Calabasas or something, or Otani was living in, I think,
Woodland
Laguna.
Hills.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, I think it's just there's no downside for the players to sign with the Dodgers. 1,000%. And honestly, right now, Derek, I hate the Dodgers as much as anybody, but I'm more mad about baseball and how they've allowed this to capitulate and snowball into what has happened now, where this kind of thing is happening. Because I'm not going to, why do you fault the Dodgers for trying to improve their roster year in and year out, doing it within the constraints of the MLB rules?
Yeah.
They're allowed to pay Otani $2 million and put $70 million on the back burner and wait until 2045 to pay that, because baseball has allowed that to happen.
Let me ask you this, though, just to flip it around, right? With the Dodgers being as good as they are and the distance competitive as far as competition goes being quite a far distance, right? What motivates a team like the Pirates to even get better versus just raking in money as a business and just worrying about that, right? Again, there's a reason why sometimes franchises just kind of give up, and that's because it's easier to not compete and just run your team like a business that's meant to make money off of the fans and off of people coming to your stadium, especially a gorgeous stadium like they have there in Pittsburgh, rather than actually trying to build a competitor and retain your players, keep your stars there, get new stars in, spend your money a little bit and add to your roster, right? I just feel like sometimes teams feel like they're not even going to be competitive, and why try? Why even try? That's one thing you have to give the Diamondbacks credit for, is they've never fallen into that. No matter how ridiculous the signing is, no matter how much it doesn't work, you can at least see that this team has continued to try to keep up, tried to be competitive. It's as we've said before about the front office and the ownership group. You cannot blame Ken Kendrick for not opening his, wallet and spending these past two off seasons to try to add to the winner that we believed we had here after 2023. Unfortunately, those moves for us didn't work out, and unfortunately, we don't have the money to financially recover from them in the same way that a team like the Dodgers can, right? But you're not wrong. The league is at fault at the end of the day for everything that's gone on here, and as the balance gets wider, as the divide gets wider, it's hard not to feel like, again, there won't be more teams until you make them not spend. There will be more teams that continue to not spend.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It feels like the Diamondbacks have really tried to make an effort in terms of adding to that payroll, bringing in, big time pieces that really could improve the team. And like you said, it hasn't worked out. I do think that here we are, and we'll get into that here in the next segment, on segment 2. But it seems like, Derek, we're kind of in the territory now where Ken Kendrick can now, all the goodwill that he's built up could go right out the door.
Oh yeah,
with one move.
Yeah,
and in the name of trying to save some money potentially, right?
And fix the pitching staff at the expense of trading away essentially an MVP candidate and a
fan favorite and face of the franchise over the last half decade and all this stuff, right? So
you're not wrong.
As much as Ken Kendrick has earned goodwill, I think that we are now marking a very, very dangerous place here with the potential sale of Ketel Marte.
Well, we are going to talk about that on the other side of this break, if those rumors actually hold water and why we think it is the dumbest thing the Diamondbacks could do. We're going to do that here in a minute. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Well, it's never ordinary to be an Arizona Diamondbacks fan, obviously, but of course, as you know, it's never ordinary over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. Damon and I are two of them, and we definitely had some fun this weekend betting on football. This was a really, really weird football weekend for the NFL, and it was a lot of fun to get down in it. Also, college football. Great time to bet on college football as well. Of course, you can get down the early payout offer, which applies to both college football and NFL with Bet365. You're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points with an instant payout offer on straight bets and parlay selections, which will be marked as winners. Download the app and use that code of PHNX365 when you sign up. And don't miss out on all of the NBA action as well. They got early payout offers for NBA, for hockey, for everything. So get in there, get in on the action. Like I said, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Breaking news right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use that code of PHNX365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 or more to get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Must be 21 or over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. And if you are an Arizona sports fan, as you have to be, unless you're a Dodger fan here just to troll us, but if you're an Arizona sports fan, there's no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. It is where I got started on my home ownership journey, and I also started going to Desert Financial because it's the only place you can show your team's spirit every time you make a purchase with exclusive debit cards branded with your favorite teams, including the Arizona Cardinals. And yeah, they're still my favorite football team, even though they make me sad every single weekend. But for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has shared our pain of being Cardinals fans, and they've also been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that help make lives better. Look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. When you open a free checking account online, get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 today. On October 17th, 2025, we did an episode about Ketel Marte rumors and Ketel Marte possibly being on the trade block and why it was a ridiculous idea at that time. And here we are, less than 1 month later, with a new report, according to Bob Nightingale in his latest piece over at USA Today, that Ketel Marte is on the MLB trade block. Or is he? Because this falls under, I think, an article Bob wrote about 10 questions about the MLB offseason. And this particular section was under MLB, on the MLB trade block, essentially, is what it was proclaiming. And per Bob, the Diamondbacks will ask a lot in return, but they are definitely motivated in moving Ketel Marte with $71 million remaining on his contract through 2030. The biggest reason, according to Bob's report, these goddamn 10-5 rights, once again. And I don't mean to discredit Bob, because I do feel like Bob is well connected, especially with the Arizona Diamondbacks team. And I do feel like when he's reporting this, that this comes from a place that just goes beyond deducing that based on Ketel Marte and his 10-5 rights being up in 2026. According to the report, if they don't move Marte by mid-April, Marte will have 10-5 rights and a full no trade clause provision. So again, if those of you that might have not seen our report on this before, what are 10-5 rights? 10-5 rights refer to a player who has been in the league for 10 or more years and has spent the last 5 consecutive years with the same team. That player is then automatically granted the right to veto any trade, regardless of whether they have a specific no trade clause in their contract. So that's essentially giving Ketel Marte from this point on, from mid-April beyond, full control over any trade that the Diamondbacks might attempt to make with him. Now, that is a good reason to consider trading Ketel Marte if you deemed Ketel Marte to be a disappointment or a player that not has fulfilled what you thought you were going to get out of him. I would argue, as most fans would, that is not what has happened here with Ketel Marte. I know 2025 was a tumultuous season for him. I know we had a lot of questions about him, and I guess like just to be the voice of the critics, right? You have people that felt like he was soft because of the way that a heckler's insults about his mother affected him, and people felt like he was a bad teammate because of what happened after the All-Star break when he took time to go to the Dominican Republic and not tell his team and essentially not be available for games that they did in fact win without him being a part of. So again, it's almost like making a mountain out of a molehill a little bit when you're simply talking about the results of those games. However, I will concede that I completely understand people being upset with Ketel Marte for not being with his team and essentially taking an extended vacation during the All-Star break to go back to the Dominican Republic, despite so many of us thinking that it was due to a robbery at his home. It was not an easy season for Ketel Marte. And again, not one of his best either. Statistically, he missed time. He, again, wasn't the MVP candidate that he was in previous seasons, but he still was one of the best second basemen in all of baseball, and he won a Silver Slugger this year to prove it, right? So when you're talking about Ketel Marte and his numbers from 2025, there's no reason to start suggesting that Ketel Marte is not worth the money left on his contract. In 2025, Ketel Marte had a 283 batting average. He slashed 283, 376, 517 for an 893 OPS. He had an OPS plus of 145, which honestly is one of the best of his career. 2024, in his MVP caliber season, he had a 154 OPS plus. In 2019, he had a 149 OPS plus. So even with having somewhat of a down year, as we might consider 2025 to be for Ketel Marte, he still put up some of his best numbers of his career. So why in the world would we even consider trading him? And again, my problem with this seems to be the fact that Ketel Marte doesn't really have, there doesn't seem to be a viable story here besides a contract, not even a contract situation, a right that all Major League Baseball players get. So by connecting the dots from here to there, you're figuring the Diamondbacks are motivated to trade him this offseason. Now, don't get me wrong. I've said it before, outside of prospects that the Diamondbacks may not want to lose, but I have a feeling they're willing to trade unproven minor league prospects far more than they're willing to trade Ketel Marte. Ketel is the one player on this team that you would even consider trading that would get you an absolute haul in return. And as we've said, the Diamondbacks need to figure out a way to get out of this particular situation that they're in this offseason with their lack of starting pitching to start the season and their limited budget that they have, right? So in regards to that there are some things that make sense to a Ketel Marte trade, as there would be for any team in baseball to trade away one of their big stars. And I'm not saying that the Diamondbacks aren't in a different position as those teams. They absolutely are, right? The Dbacks are not in a great position right now. They are in a position where, again, a trade like this featuring Ketel Marte could shift the future of this franchise dramatically, right? You just can't say that the Ketel Marte contract and what they're paying him is some sort of albatross around the neck of this franchise. Like, he's still on a very friendly team deal compared to what other players that produce the same level that he does are getting paid, right? And not only that, but he's at the peak of his performance. Marte has been one of the most consistent hitters in the lineup, and he's capable right now of doing everything, hitting for average, hitting for power, maintaining a solid on-base percentage, right? He has been clutch, as we've seen time and time again this season. And again, he gets on base, he drives and runs, he does everything that you could ask of somebody that would essentially be the leader that Ketel Marte is for this team on the field. And again, I will say that the off-field stuff this season wasn't a great look for him. And again, I hope that he learned from it, and I hope that this is something that's in the past. I feel like it is, but I also still don't feel like what he did was egregious enough to say I don't want him as a part of this team any longer. Damon and I will just quit doing this show, by the way. So if you do not enjoy the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast, root in favor of a trade like this, because quite frankly, we would rather go change oil on car. And no disrespect to guys who change oil. It's a decent living. And Damon and I have considered it many times while doing these podcasts. But every
mean comment gets us closer to it,
every single YouTube comment moves us that much closer, right? But I mean, Damon, this is crazy. I know Ketel Marte, you can't really consider him with the things that have happened like a huge leader in the locker room, but I've been around this team quite a bit. I don't really feel like Ketel has ever really been that. Right. So it's like he's not a guy who you're suddenly disappointed in that by a great deal because he lets a lot of people down. Marte in general, based on what I've seen out of him, is kind of a guy that, he is very friendly with his teammates and loves everybody a lot, but he also keeps to himself quite a bit. And again, he's your prototypical superstar in certain ways, right? It's just, what in the world could they potentially get back in a trade that would be worth trading away Ketel Marte, and what would really make the Diamondbacks want to do this?
Yeah. What would make the Diamondbacks want to do this? I think that's the big question, right? And I think that everyone's answer would be a combination of maybe they're sick of his attitude, which seems a little bit over the top because, and that's coming from, and Killer Rex will attest to this, somebody that was not happy with the Ketel Marte situation. I was being told that I hate Ketel Marte because of me being upset with him for taking a vacation in the middle of our baseball season. I think that he needed to be held accountable for that. And like you said, Derek, like lessons needed to be learned, hopefully moving forward. But for me, that's not close to a reason to want to trade this guy. You saw it with Geraldo Perdomo, right. The way that he stuck up for him.
Not to cut you off, but you can be mad at him and also not want to trade him. Both things can be true.
Absolutely. We can try to hold players accountable and still be like, that is our superstar face of the franchise and we can't lose this guy. And I don't, I think his teammates probably were upset with him over that situation. I had heard that Geraldo Perdomo was one of those teammates, Derek, that was upset with Ketel Marte for the situation. And then guess who stands up in front of the media to defend him? Geraldo Perdomo. They don't want this guy gone. So why should the front office want him gone if the players and the people in that locker room are on Team Ketel? They think that this is something that we can work past and that this is not a relationship that's too broken. For me, it comes down to one thing. I've been a fan of this team my entire life. I was at, when I was born, the first home playoff game, Derek, 2 months after I was born, sitting in the crowd with my family. I'm about as Dbacks bred as it comes.
Yeah.
I do not.
They baptized you in the pool.
They did.
Out there.
They did baptize me in the Chase Field pool, the Bob pool at that time. But I mean, I have seen this team sell off its best players consistently, and they never ever get the value back that they need to. They never ever get the value back that they need to.
There's no certainty that the trade will bring you back the return that Ketel Marte ever was as a player, because you're going to trade for young, controllable players that most likely are not proven at a major league level, or maybe they are. I mean, they'd have to be in order to be included in a trade for Ketel Marte, but it just brings back those bad memories of trading away Paul Goldschmidt. And even then, that made far more sense considering he was at the end of his contract rather than having essentially 4 seasons still left on it.
Signing an extension.
And you just signed an extension. Like, what would make you suddenly turn, like, literally that transgression that happened at the All-Star break is enough to make you not want him on your team any longer? Again, I felt like he took accountability for that, was very apologetic about it, and actually showed kind of a lot of maturity and growth that I really haven't felt like I've seen in Ketel. So I applaud him for the way he handled it afterwards, despite that being a pretty crappy thing that he did to his team and his teammates, right? But again, what is the return going to be? It's not going to be Paul Skeens, as Michael in the chat is suggesting.
Yeah, like if it's Paul Skeens, then sign me up. If it's Tariq Skubal and we give him an extension, then I guess I'm listening, right? But I'm getting a lot of people saying Hunter Greene in my comments right now, Derek.
I've seen that.
Shockingly, there's a lot of Dbacks fans who are actually pretty on the team of let's get rid of this guy.
Right.
And I find that pretty surprising because I tweet out something like to the extent of basically what is put here in the chat by Cool Bro, who says attendance keeps growing every year since 2023. If you trade him, that attendance goes back down.
Marte is a fan favorite. He is one of the fans of this franchise, or one of the faces of this franchise, right?
If Hunter Greene, Derek, is the piece that you bring back from a baseball perspective, he's a young pitcher. He looks like he has ace quality stuff. He would be, if he stays healthy, big if, especially if you're a Dbacks, big acquisition at starting pitcher. Health is seemingly against you from the jump. But if he stays healthy, he would be maybe the best compensation you could get. Yeah. Here's the other deal with that. the casual Arizona Diamondbacks baseball fans who you are trying to get out to the ballpark, who you have seen this steady increase in attendance for, they have no effing clue who Hunter Greene is.
Yeah.
And they love Ketel Marte.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that I think that trade specifically was floated out there by Jack and Jesse over at Snake's territory, right? And again, they've gotten a lot of thumbs down on that as well. And that is because fans are very much against it for that exact reason. Hunter Greene, despite his performance, isn't that marquee name that you feel like is enough to move Ketel Marte. However, I don't think asking for more than a Hunter Greene, who is a very good starting pitcher and is the exact thing the Diamondbacks would be looking for in return for Ketel Marte, I don't think asking for more than him is realistic. Because again, this is the difference between starting pitching, which wins you baseball games, and a position player who can easily go down in value as his years go on and kind of regress with a new team, right? And again, that could happen here. It's another reason to say, Ketel Marte, trade him, yay. But that could happen with any player you sign to a long-term deal. So there's never a time to really bring that in as a factor. That's just a risk of any athlete that you sign to a long-term deal. But the Dbacks are trying to build a consistent, competitive core. We have talked about the core so much, right? Because the core is the only way that championship franchises win, unless you are talking about fluke teams that figure out a way to somehow put things together, which many have called the Diamondbacks 2023 run a fluke run because of their run to the World Series. And quite frankly, it might have been, right? But that's
baseball.
That's baseball. That's the way the playoffs work, and there's no real flukes. They won handedly, and they got hot at the right time to make it all the way to the World Series. When you figure out after a run like that who your core is that you're going to build around, that's a very important step to try to make a team competitive for years and not just have a one-time run like that. And again, the core of this team was determined at that time to be guys like Geraldo Perdomo, Ketel Marte, and Corbin Carroll. They've decided to build around those guys, and those guys have rewarded them with being as good as they have been, including last year. Last year's record and the losses are not on these three individuals. Look at these numbers that these guys put up.
Hashtag the core.
Top 5 offense in baseball thanks to these three guys right here. But what you do with your core is you have to build around them. You have to add to them. You have to find step 2 is finding consistent pieces that you add to the franchise that aren't the core, but can help this franchise win for years. And then step 3, once you feel like you have a winning team, that's when you go out and you add the splashy signing of a Corbin Burnes or Jordan Montgomery. And it felt like the Diamondbacks were at that point, and that's the reason why logistically it made sense for them to try to bring in a Jordan Montgomery or Corbin Burnes. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for this team, but trading Ketel Marte wouldn't either. It would be a short-term gamble for long-term pain. Long-term pain of watching Ketel Marte go be an MVP caliber candidate elsewhere the way we did with Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt should not have signed with another franchise. Paul Goldschmidt should have been a Diamondback for the rest of his career. And I know we joke about me hating Goldie and all of that, but all of that stupid stuff aside, which may or may not have some value there, I will say Paul Goldschmidt should have never left this franchise. And what he signed for in St. Louis and what he was for that team proved that he should never have left the Diamondbacks, right? So this is a situation where Mike Hazen still to this day talks about that being one of the worst deals he's made. And it makes me believe that there's no reason why Mike Hazen would do it again here with Ketel Marte.
Definitely not for prospects, Derek.
No,
that's the main thing. Definitely not for prospects.
No.
It's got to be a top of the line front arm that gets brought in for Ketel Marte, or else there will be riots in downtown Phoenix. As Cool Bro says here, like what kind of message would it send to your fans to get this Chase Field bill done?
Oh, yeah.
And then right around the corner, you trade the best hitter on the entire team.
Gotcha.
Like that.
Thanks for the votes. Thanks for the support.
Meanwhile, the Dodgers have their entire core in place and $90 million burning in their pocket to add to their roster. It's like that. What a slap in the face to your fan base.
Yeah, no, 100%. And honestly, again, not to discredit Bob Nightingale, he didn't say anything in this article that he had sources telling him the Diamondbacks are going to move Ketel Marte or anything. I think he's just logically deducing that the Diamondbacks are in trouble. And they don't have a lot of assets that they want to move or can move that will bring back the value that someone like Ketel Marte would. You pair that with the 10-5 rights thing, and it makes sense that the Diamondbacks would at least be willing to hear teams out. But to think he's actively being shopped or that Ketel Marte will actually be traded this offseason, I think is is far from the truth. I don't believe that is the case, but I could absolutely be wrong. And again, I think Mike Hazen has said in the past that he's open to trading anybody if someone was willing to offer him a deal that absolutely blew him away. That was the time where he named guys like Corbin Carroll and Geraldo Perdomo, and me and Damon, again, wanted to light torches and get our pitchforks ready. Right?
I wonder, somebody brought this up to me as well, like, oh, Mike Hazen has been, talking a lot about, well, we need to flip some offense, take a little bit of a regression on offense to gain some pitching. And I understand that thought process when your team is, here and here. But like for me, and that's
other way. There you go.
Here and here. But for me, it's like I want to keep the offense here and I want to get the pitching from here to here. Yeah. Make the pitching average
just a little bit better
with this elite offense. Yeah. And what kind of team are we talking about here? How hard is it to find average pitching? I mean, I know that there's a lot of injuries and things that have happened, but to me, it's like I don't think that you get closer to your goal of winning a championship by trading the guy who was the NLCS MVP 2 years ago.
Bingo.
He's your best. Exactly. He's your best clutch hitter. Yeah. Geraldo Perdomo exists. He's your second best clutch hitter. He's your best hitter overall.
Perdomo thrives in the clutch situations, but Ketel Marte, especially this season, delivered time and time again. Especially in the ninth inning, he was like somebody you just didn't want to pitch to him at all, right? But I mean, you're 100% right, just in regards to Marte, and again, I think this is logical deduction. I don't think that the Diamondbacks are actually here trading Ketel, but I don't know, man. Again, I think that Mike Hazen's comments, I felt, in my opinion, were more towards what they're going to do in free agency. I think what he meant about taking a step back offensively was we're not going to go out and add a Gino Suarez to this lineup again. We're not going to go out and add one of the best power hitters available in the free agency
Bellinger.
Market. Yeah, right. As much as you like.
Yeah.
But a reunion with Paul Goldschmidt, far more reasonable, right? Far more reasonable. And then you have the possibility of Ryan Waldschmidt and Goldschmidt being on the same team. And then I'll change my name to Derek Schmidt or Montilla Schmidt or something.
I think Mike Hazen, part of what I was going to say, and I didn't round out my point, I think Mike Hazen says a lot purposefully. I think it's a designated purpose. I think he tries to say a bunch of things to so that a lot of GMs around the league are also listening to what Mike Hazen's saying and going, "What the hell is Mike Hazen doing?" He's talking about Corbin Carroll on the potentially being talked about in trade talks.
I think he's deliberate. I think he's deliberate with his actions.
I think he's doing that on purpose.
It's like when he says that he doesn't talk about trades that he missed on or free agents that he missed on, and then he gives you your reason. They're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why would you admit that you failed when no one needed to know that you failed? Why do I need to tell my wife I broke a glass when she's not going to know that glass is missing? She'll never say, why should I admit to a crime that I'm going to easily clean up the scene and make sure there's no broken glass left behind? I'm not telling her that. Not at all. She'll hold that over me for a week. But definitely, man. I mean, I think that I still feel like this worries me. I feel like this idea being out there concerns me. And again, like what we're saying, the fact that this story exists might just be Bob Nightingale deducing based on logic. It also might be out there for a reason. Again, the Nick Piccolo story might have been out there for a reason. They might be trying to lay the groundwork to actually make a move to trade Ketel Marte. And the best way to do so would be to make sure people knew about it and that it was coming before it happened, rather than to just shock people out of nowhere.
Pulling the chair out from under everybody.
Yeah, star player. However, I'm still just very doubtful that we will actually see a move, and I still feel like this is just, again, logic, but not logic backed by sources or anybody saying they're actually trading Ketel Marte.
I think it's posturing. I think, to your point, I think it's posturing. I think it's the Dbacks being like, yeah, we could trade him. And then Bob's putting two and two together with this, the no trade clause that would happen if Ketel got kept. And I think that's why he's bringing that up, is because it's like, well, there has been some rumors that the Dbacks have been looking to trade Ketel, and this is happening. Yeah. So the Diamondbacks would be motivated to get rid of him. Yeah. Exactly. And it's a really good report in terms of doing exactly what it's doing right now.
They are motivated to get rid of him. Will they do it? I think that's highly unlikely. And I've even seen contradictory reports prior to this one coming out saying that Ketel Marte will not be moved this offseason. So, again, it's just reports. We don't know what actually is going to happen until it happens. So we'll keep our eyes, obviously, on this as the biggest developing story this offseason for the Diamondbacks. But We will be back here in a few minutes. Wait, BCSC is here.
Yeah, we got BCSC on a non-post-game show. I thought
I'm pumped.
I'm a little scared. I thought BCSC was like a vampire that only came out at night when and like the daylight, the sunlight is very bad for BCSC skin.
His profile picture has a little bandana that might have to pull over his eyes. The daylight can't burn his face as a known vampire.
You can't have BCSC out on the streets in the daytime. That's a fact.
The world's not ready for that.
No.
But he says, rumor has it, he ain't got They Love Anymore, Adele. By the way, when we did title the thumbnail this, Kevin Thomas did play that song, and now it's been stuck in all of our heads this entire time.
The whole office is singing Adele. Also, I want to say, Derek, shout out our guy Johnny here.
What's up, Johnny? We just met him on the streets.
Literally 14 minutes before the show started, on the dot, Derek and I are walking, grabbing a coffee, doing some pregame little brainstorming sesh.
That's right.
And
little cookie and coffee session.
And our guy Johnny walks straight up to Derek, just walking down downtown Phoenix, and goes, "Are you Derek?"
I'm hard to miss.
And Derek, Derek wearing his, of course, the most Diamondbacks purple and teal outfit of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like, yes, I actually am, in fact, Derek. Nice to meet you. But appreciate our guy Johnny for
appreciate you, brother,
watching the show, tuning in today, and it means a lot whenever we meet anybody in person. And,
it really does.
And they come up to us. Like, I know it sounds so like self-serving and stupid, but
it never gets old.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. It's super cool.
It's an honor to meet real people that really watch this show, and again, especially
because it feels like all these people here are fake.
Yeah, no,
these feel like fake people.
We know Killer X is AI. He is absolutely a computer program designed to hate Tori Lavello, and he is very good. There's a lot of resources being used on Killer X.
Killer X said he's going to run up on you one day, Derek.
Yeah, no, I do not want that. I do not want
that. That would be jarring. Hey, what's up? I'm Killer X.
Yeah, and I do. I remember meeting Michael Dixon in Costco. We did meet while we were just fight.
Yeah,
fight.
just
like
just
a
square up immediately.
Yeah.
What's up? What's up, bro? I think it would have to be that way, but in a friendly sense. Like, you guys would have to like wrestle or something immediately.
Probably. At least. You know, I love to at least lock it up with guys when I first meet them. But
of course, Ryan saying he wants to shake your hand, Derek. He hasn't done that enough as he comes. Ryan, who comes to every event.
That sounds like the guy on the airplane that was yelling, "I want to shake his hand. I want to shake that guy's hand." I don't know if he really wants to shake my hand, but we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to get more into your guys' comments because it is Monday, and you know what we do on Monday, especially this Monday. We're going to celebrate the guy that sings that Mailbag Monday song. All of that on the other side of this break. Don't you guys go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondbacks show. For more than 15 years, Access Insurance Agency of Arizona has provided affordable and reliable car insurance to drivers in the Phoenix metro area. As a dedicated part of the local community, Access Auto helps Arizona drivers get insured by offering flexible coverage options and accepting various forms of IDs, driving histories, and license types. By partnering together with over 20 insurance carriers, they make it easy for you to compare rates and find the best policy for your budget. And they also have bilingual Spanish-speaking agents at 9 convenient locations across the valley. Access agents are ready to assist customers in finding the right coverage for their budgets and identifying available discounts. Both cash and card payments are accepted to add convenience. Access Auto, trusted by the community, rooted in Phoenix, and ready to help. All statements are subject to terms, exclusions, and conditions of the applicable policy. In all instances, the current policy language contract prevails. Coverage is subject to individual policyholders meeting underwriting qualifications and state availability. Other terms, conditions, and exclusions may apply. And if you want to look as bright and amazing as I do, you should go get outfitted at Rally House. Rally House is the go-to spot for team gear here in the Valley. It should be called Valley House, not just Rally House, because they will get you set up for all the teams here in Phoenix. They have shop locations in Tempe, Mesa, and Glendale. And if you haven't checked out Rally House's assortment, they have everything you need, whether it's hoodies. It is hoodie season. So now is the time. Now is my time. Now is our time to shine, Phoenix. It's going to be a high of 60 degrees for like the next week. So go get yourself a brand new hoodie, cuddle up, and have yourself an amazing time. And get it in your favorite team's colors. And remember that at Rally House, they only carry Arizona sports teams. So you don't have to go look at a bunch of Dodgers World Series championship hoodies. And every time you visit a Rally House, you're guaranteed to find something new, unique, and that matches your game day vibe. Find your local Rally House location, shop their entire product assortment online at rallyhouse.com today. Well, Damon, It is Monday, and as you know, we do the same thing around here every Monday. And that's not just because we're lazy and we're hungover from the weekend and it makes our jobs easier. That's because there's nothing we love more than hearing from you guys and getting your questions in our mailbag. And as you know, every year on this show is the year of this guy right here, the year of the snake, our year. Every month on this show is Black History Month. Every month on this show is Women's History Month. Every month on this show is Black Women's History Month. Every month on this show is Hispanic Heritage Month. And every month on this show is Black Women's Hispanic Heritage Month. Every week is Shark Week. Every day is Earth Day because Damon and I recycle. And on Mondays, we go to the mailbag. Damon, mailbag me.
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox. And then once in a while, there's a letter that makes me go, wow, wow, my mailbox.
Let's start. The very first question I'm getting to, Damon, no, not that one. Not Travis Moore. Emily Williams, who will never relent on the jersey list. Emily, boy, do I have an offer for you. Thank you for your super chat. She says, Derek, you're going to work on the jersey list. I'm not going to just work on the jersey list, Emily. This very week, Damon and I are going to have a live re-ranking of the jerseys on this podcast just for you, just for Emily, who we have been putting off on updating the jersey list for entirely too long. So hopefully that rectifies this huge mistake I've made, Emily. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll
Not
be doing
only
like
for-
a tier ranking or something. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we're going to have a great time, and it's all thanks to you. Also, congratulations on never relenting on the bit. I've never seen anybody more dedicated. Maybe Killer X and his hatred to Tori Lavello. Maybe only second to that. But
Yeah, that's top two bits
yeah,
that are
for
going
sure,
in this chat for sure.
What do we got, Damon? What's in the mailbag?
Our first question here comes from Travis Moore, of course, who asks, first off, says sorry for missing another Mailbag Monday last week, and he's got to get out of this slump. But bit of a personalish question this time. I don't believe there is a definitive answer yet. Now that I live in Minnesota, how do I watch all the Dbacks games, Derek?
I believe the easiest way, obviously, is still going to be the Dbacks like broadcast. Like they haven't made an official announcement yet as far as what they're going to do for a subscription package. Now, we're going to talk about legal ways to watch it. That's all that I have to talk legal ways to watch it, of course. But of course, Dbacks.tv can be cheap, especially if you're a student or a veteran. Tomorrow's Veterans Day, so that's just a great thing to bring up. I think it's $60, I believe, if you're a student or a veteran. But again, Dbacks TV probably going to be your best option, and you won't have to deal with where you're living and like blackouts and such. I think at all, unless they say Minnesota, so unless they're like maybe playing the Twins or something, but I don't even know if that's the case. Blackout rules are stupid. It's the dumbest thing ever, and I feel like that we should all be able to sue anybody that doesn't let us watch 100% of the team's games when we subscribe to their service. It's a platform I ran on to become mayor, and it's how I won this office. So remember, blackouts are dumb, and let's make sure that we can watch our teams. And that one's pretty simple for you, but again, it's ever changing, right? And that's the one thing that again is could be impacted here as time goes on is the Diamondbacks broadcast and who's in control of that and how that's available. It feels like MLB still trying to get a lot of teams all under their control. But you could have some provider come in and swoop in and suddenly be the new provider for Diamondbacks games and such. I wouldn't be surprised to see that change with the ever-changing landscape of streaming and broadcasting and everything like that. All right, what else we got, Damon?
Our next question here is from Crobin Carroll enthusiast, who asks, if you could add one player to this D-backs team to ensure that they contend, who would it be? Anybody?
That's crazy. Okay, so anybody. Obviously, we're talking about living human beings and not dead ones. We're talking about active MLB players and not bringing back
Randy Johnson,
right? So, okay, that one. Let's knock that out, right? Obviously, the biggest thing that's going to change this franchise is starting pitching, Damon. I don't think that there is a way that you could argue. The only problem with that in concept is that a starting pitcher still only pitches every 5 days. So no matter how good your one starting pitcher is, it's still reliant on the other pitchers in the starting rotation to also be good in order for your team to find success. I'm not really sure. This is an excellent question. I feel like because of that, I immediately land with like Framber Valdez. I feel like Framber Valdez has been such a consistent starting pitcher. I feel like he has so much playoff experience. Anybody that was on that Astros team and that run seems to have like 80 playoff games under their belt. So, I mean, I do feel like Framber Valdez is the kind of starting pitcher that could change this franchise. However, in years past, I might have said the exact same thing about Corbin Burnes and Jordan Montgomery. And I'm not bringing that up just to make me feel sad, which I do now. I do now feel sad. I wasn't sad a minute ago, but now I'm sad just saying that. But again, it is just a starting pitcher. And as we've seen, a starting pitcher not only can be lost due to injury, but a starting pitcher, again, does not pitch every single game, So it's hard to say that there is a particular one player, and Killer X brings up that Valdez wants to kill his catchers. Yeah, there's that too. But again, it's like maybe again another guy that's right up there. I think Dylan Cease is asking a lot, but he's been very good in his career. As far as position players are concerned, I don't know, Damon. I don't really think of any position players available right now on the free agent market that would transform this team. I mean, quite frankly, Cool Bro is right. Ohtani is the easy answer if you're talking about any player in baseball. And Damon is just going to get up and walk out of the room now. But again, it's because Ohtani, he is, like I said, they need a starting pitcher, but they also need somebody that adds to the team offensively. So legitimately, unfortunately, as much as it pains us, as much as we attack this man, any opportunity we get, it's pure jealousy. It's pure jealousy. Nothing of this is anything other than pure jealousy on our behalf towards the Dodgers, because we would love to have Ohtani, as would any single team in baseball, and anybody telling you otherwise is a bold-faced liar. No matter what, no matter how good any player is, no player in baseball offers you what Ohtani offers you, period. And that's even playoff Ohtani. So anyway, what else we got? That disgusted me, Damon. That left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't like it.
Well, I think you made your own bet on that one.
Yeah.
We got Jeremy here asking a question, as always. What should the win-loss record be before the All-Star break, knowing that reinforcements would be coming off the IL at that time? It's an interesting question.
How many games below 500 could we be before we are completely out of it for the second half of the season?
It's funny you say below 500. I was going to say 500 exactly. I think that's the target, is sticking around 500,
Sure.
keeping relevancy.
Sure.
Maybe,
I think that's an easy answer,
maybe
though, right?
being one or two below, but like you can't be too far behind 500 because the trade deadline's on the horizon, and we know what this team does when they're not really in contention per se, but the trade deadline is happening.
It's going to be, you're going to have a very short amount of time to quickly make an impact and show that this team is still alive beyond the trade deadline in order for them to not trade away pieces. However, they don't have the expiring contracts next year the way they did this year. I think everybody forgets that. Like, the Diamondbacks just didn't go crazy trading away guys just to trade away guys. They traded away guys that weren't going to be here at the end of the year, and they knew their payroll situation, so they knew they weren't going to be able to bring back a Gino or a Josh Naylor or any of those guys that they ended up trading away. The only guy that's feasible to think they would bring back is Merrill Kelly, and I could sit here and talk about that, but I'm 90% sure we have a Mailbag Monday question about it, so I'll do that then. But what I will say here overall is that the next season, again, you saw what the record needed to be this year in order to make it into the playoffs, right? You're not asking for a team to be 20, 30 games above 500 in order for them to make the playoffs. You're pretty much asking for them to be 10 games above 500. So I think reasonably 500 is right where they would be if you would, once those reinforcements come back, if you wanted to feel really good. If this team somehow has a positive winning record, even if it's just one game, when the Corbin Burnes returns, when you get Justin Martinez back, when you get AJ Puck back, you have to feel very good about that, right? And again, there's a possibility, which we'll talk about tomorrow, that the Diamondbacks could land a starting pitcher that is capable of starting, but could still end up in the bullpen, like a Chris Bassett, who we saw dominate in the postseason there for the Toronto Blue Jays, right? Is it too much to think that maybe Chris Bassett at his age could be signed to a short-term deal here with the Diamondbacks and fulfill a starting pitching role to get them to that point, and then be perhaps an elite reliever and make this Diamondbacks bullpen along with those two guys really, really good? It's not out of the question to think that that's a move that they could make, right? But I will say that I think that if you start slipping beyond 5 games below 500, it's hard to imagine making up that ground overall, and again.
Here's another factor, though, Derek. Mike Hazen and Torey Lavola, we've talked about it. They could be coaching for their and GMing for their jobs this year.
Got to pull out all the stops.
And maybe there's a level of aggressiveness that comes with that at the trade deadline, even if they are below 500.
Yeah, because they have those reinforcements, and it's all dictated by how they start playing once those guys come back, right?
Yeah.
We are getting into the weeds here, and we have so much more in Mailbag Monday. So we're going to head to overtime right now. If you're watching over at wherever you're watching, whatever app you're watching on, come on over to gophnx.com. We're going to keep the party going over here, and we have a ton of more Mailbag Monday questions to ask here or answer, as well as, of course, letting you guys know about the PHNX newsletter right now. You can be the smartest Arizona sports fan you know. With a inbox little delivery from our guy, Alex D'Agostino, who is now running it and doing an excellent job. His opening remarks on today's inbox letter immediately made me regret ever being an Arizona Cardinals fan. And he was very nice about it. However, it's miserable sometimes, isn't it? It's completely free. And again, you just got to go to gophnx.com/newsletter to sign up right now and get that delivered to you. Alex does a great job of covering all the things happening in Arizona sports, including our Phoenix Rising making a surprising little playoff run that ended with a little bit of heartbreak this weekend.
Oh my God, Derek!
Tulsa.
I don't mean to just derail this, but like I gotta just like vent for a second to you. This is like an off-air conversation, but I don't even care.
100%.
People will love this. I had plans to go to the Hondo Rodeo Festival on Saturday after the U of A game was over, and I had my tickets. I was ready to go. Kevin reminded me, oh yeah, Damon, you're on the Rising postgame show tonight. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll get that done and I'll head over and it'll be fine. I'll miss some of I'll probably miss all the rodeo. I'll get the concerts. It'll be a good time. That game was it could not have gone worse for your boy here. 120 minutes, 2 shots on target. And the last kick of the game loses Phoenix Rising their season. Last kick of the game. After 120 minutes, it took Tulsa 120 minutes to kick one at the damn goalkeeper. And it finally went in. It's like, you guys couldn't have lost in 90?
Please?
You guys couldn't have won in 120?
No, it's like the
you had to
Diamondbacks.
lose in 120.
The Diamondbacks have to make us believe before they
100%. The Diamondbacks have to sell off their team, go on the hottest run of any team in baseball, claw back to a game back from the wild card, and then not make it at the end of the season. Arizona sports, man.
Still too soon. Cool Bro asked, is Lourdes out the whole 2026? Basically, not the whole 2026. But again, remember when these injury estimates come out, there is a time frame. And unfortunately, we always tend to be like, okay, it's 12 to 15 months. He should be back in 12 months. Well, in some cases, it's 15 months. And should that be the case there with Lourdes, I believe he would absolutely miss the entirety of the 2026 season. So that is unfortunate for this team, and another reason why, again, they're going to have to get very creative with filling the roles that they need to fill. And again, it's also still stupid to me that Ketel Marte is even thought of as being traded, considering that just creates yet another problem for this team. I guess maybe Jordan Lawler can step in, but do you want Jordan Lawler's bat replacing Ketel Marte's? I don't think so. What else we got there, Damon, in the mailbag?
Our next question comes from El Gallo, who wants to know how the Diamondbacks are positioning themselves in the Japanese market. Derek.
That's such a great question. I mean, I'm sure they're doing things that other Major League Baseball teams are doing. I'm sure they have scouts, agents, people in Japan. I'm sure they also have them in the KBO for the Korean, or in Korea for the KBO. I don't know if they're doing enough, quite frankly. And again, it feels like an automatic assumption when you see all of these great Japanese players being discussed about as being posted and coming to the United States, come to Major League Baseball, that they're all going to go to the Dodgers. The reason for that is the global dominance that the Dodgers have over every other team in baseball, as Damon and I have discussed in the past. They have done an incredible job of growing their franchise overseas, and Japan right now is producing some of the best baseball players in the entire world, as is the Caribbean. Dominican Republic, Cuba at one point was producing some great players. Everybody wanted to get a Cuban player. But the Dominican Republic, if you will ever Google the Dominican Republic, there is not only an academy for the Arizona Diamondbacks in the Dominican Republic, on that same street and that same block in that same mile radius, there is an academy for every single Major League Baseball team. Because yes, that's how you grow the game, and that's how you find next level talent, is by essentially scouting these guys at a young age, giving them a start on their baseball career, and hoping that the result is a sense of loyalty to the franchise that helped them make it to this level. Not only that, but international, drafts and things like that all factor in here as well. But they're not, I don't think they're doing as good of a job of positioning themselves in the Japanese market for going after Japanese players, quite frankly. Nor could you maybe say any other team right now in baseball has even as good of a chance as, the Dodgers do based on their dominance right now in that country, their popularity, everything, right? Hopefully the days come along that players want to come to the United States to defeat Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto rather than join them. But for now, the one factor here is that it's very difficult to be an international player that maybe doesn't speak the language and comes to the United States and has a team full of players that do not speak his same language and he's not familiar with, right? So it truly is a big reason why teams that have already added Japanese players to their roster and have multiple Japanese players will also have an advantage over the Diamondbacks based on guys being comfortable. Again, there's the idea that certain cities and certain teams are just going to be more friendly for a player making that leap to jump across to a different country and again, be on a team with a bunch of guys that you might not be able to communicate with or, have much in common with, right? So RA says snakes seem to be more focused in Taiwan, and you're right. Again, part of that connection is that Yu-Min Lin, a player within the organization, is also already a very popular player in Taiwan.
Corbin Carroll.
Because they don't, and Corbin Carroll, right, exactly. So, again, there is some benefit here to having players already on your team that can attract future players from that country, right? But again, with the case of some teams in baseball, it's far more than that because they'll get to share a locker room with guys that they've admired for years and have always wanted to play with. Plus, again, if you come to the Dodgers, just think about this much, and Damon's going to hate this. Come to the Dodgers as a Japanese player, you get to be friends with Shohei Ohtani.
Oh.
What Japanese player that has looked up to this man wouldn't want that, right? And especially considering you both speak the same language, you have an in with him that most of his teammates don't already have.
He can get you in on his criminal enterprises. Maybe make a couple money, some bucks on the side.
I felt like that took way too long for you to make that comment.
You were setting me up.
I really was.
You were volleyball setting for me to just spike that one home, but.
Jason Armstrong in the chat says, I overheard a combo during the last fall classic that the Dbacks are a uniquely friendly team to new players and their families, where teams like the Marlins don't even pick you up at the airport. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I will say, though, at times I've seen minor league players for the Diamondbacks catching an Uber outside of Chase Field to go to the airport after being sent down, and that, for some reason, didn't feel right. But that was also years ago. So hopefully that's in the past. But what else we got in the mailbag, Damon?
Our next question here comes from Karen with a C, who wants to know, everyone keeps talking about bringing back Zach Gallen. What about Merrill Kelly? He should be quite affordable on a 2-year deal.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Plus, he has a familiarity with this team, the familiarity with the Valley. And, again, he's just a guy who, quite frankly, at his age and everything, shouldn't be a long-term deal for any team, right? But, again, bringing him back here feels more important for the Diamondbacks because he is the exact kind of thing they need. They need another pitcher here to try to make the starting rotation for the final, for the rest of Corbin Burns' contract. They need to try to make this starting pitching rotation as good as possible, right? A big problem with getting a long-term pitcher that's going to be here for, a decent chunk of his career is the contract it's going to take to do that. The D-backs kind of have to maneuver on shorter-term contracts and shorter-term deals, and part of that is going after older pitchers that might not be expecting to get that long-term deal at any point. But I feel like Merrill goes beyond that. Merrill is a guy, once again, like we described with Ketel Marte, that this fan base loves. And Merrill is just, I don't know, he's our guy, it feels like. And he came back here from Korea. He performed extremely well in his time for this franchise. He quickly became one of the best statistical pitchers in the organization's history. And I just want to see him back here. Like, there's a lot of reasons why bringing Merrill back makes all the sense in the world. I don't know if people are talking about it more or less than Zach Gallen. I think that Gallen, it's just still kind of up in the air. Many people believe that it's a slam dunk that he's going to turn down the qualifying offer. He's going to move on and get a free agency deal elsewhere, and the Diamondbacks will get that draft pick. I don't feel like it's that simple. I do think that the qualifying offer is enough to make Gallen consider coming back here for 1 year, trying to have a rebound season, and getting that long-term deal at the end of 2026. That, however, is very, very risky, because he might not have a rebound year. He might just confirm that he's a 4.50 ERA pitcher, and then nobody wants to offer him that deal. At least right now, there's some intrigue about whether or not he could, if he's this, or if he could be what he's been the majority of his career. Plus, you factor in how, I guess, unknown the 2027 season is, and what's going to happen with that year in baseball. And again, it might yield towards Gallen not feeling like he can get that long-term deal next offseason due to all of those, all of the labor negotiations going on, and that his best opportunity to get a multi-year deal might be this offseason, right? But overall, again, it's because the deal is on the table for Gallen, where Merrill Kelly, we have no idea if there's any negotiation going on. We feel like there is, and we feel like we've heard both Hazen and Kelly kind of bring up the idea of a reunion. We just don't know how likely that is. Hazen also has said that they are looking for young, controllable pitching, which is not easy to get and is not cheap and is definitely not Merrill Kelly.
And is typically not really available on the free agent market.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely more of a trade piece type of situation, and it feels like if the Diamondbacks want to do that they're going to be trading some of those top prospects that we've been talking about, Derek, in order to make that happen, whether that's, Jordan Lawler or a guy like Waldschmidt. But I do think that, this is a good comment from Cool Bro, who's been killing it today in the chat. Kelly should, if you sign Merrill Kelly, that, yes, that almost means that you definitely shouldn't trade Ketel Marte. You're trying to win baseball games if that's the point. And how does that help you win baseball games? Yeah. It seems like trading Ketel would be for a long-term vision plan of, we want a young, controllable pitcher for the long-term future. We don't necessarily think this makes us better year one. If you bring in Merrill Kelly at 37 years old, you better be trying to win now.
Right. You're not just filling a spot in the rotation. Also, Corbin Burnes, right?
Yeah.
We only have him for a short amount of time, and I believe isn't the final 2 years on his deal, I believe, are player options, so he could be gone after 3 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. If that's the case, then Corbin Burnes, we can't squander his time here. We just can't. We need to do everything we can to push all of the chips in for this next 2 seasons, essentially, and try to be as competitive as we can be, as long as one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball is a part of this starting rotation, right? So, also, Fleaball says, what about the milk commercials? Are they staying or leaving too? They are gone. The milk commercials are gone regardless of if he stays or goes. We need new milk commercials, and we need Zach Gallen to, I don't know. What do we need more from him? I mean, the man lifted weights in a milk commercial. I don't know if we need more from him. We need creative to get involved, and we need to rework these commercials. Maybe Zach Gallen in a milkman costume complaining about how stupid the concept of the commercial is. And yes, I said milk. I think you guys say milk weird. That's what I think. But what else we got, David? What else we got? Speaking of Ryan.
You guys are the problem. Ryan says, what's the best food to bring to a company potluck? Baja Blast pie?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That Baja Blast pie is the same color as parts of this hoodie that I'm wearing. It is made out of radioactive material that I think is antifreeze and should not be consumed by human beings. I believe on the outside of the pie box, before you rip the little tab, it says not for human consumption in there.
Hazardous materials included.
Yeah, like you're taking your life in your own hands simply by opening that box and getting your face anywhere close to that pie. All right? Not only is it a bad idea, but it's a cream-based pie at a potluck. No one's going to refrigerate that properly. No one's putting it in to the refrigerator and then getting it out. That's what's going to happen, one or the other. Either it's going to stay out and it's going to melt and it's going to get gross, which is already gross, so that's going to just be grosser. Or they're going to put it in the refrigerator, people are going to forget about it. Then you're going to have to eat it a week later when you find it in there while you're trying to scrounge for lunch one day. And you're going to be just hungry enough that you will eat it and you'll regret it every day and for every day, at least for the next 3 to 5 days. At least for the next 3 to 5 days. Now, best thing to bring to a company potluck. I will say that we've had some pretty good potlucks around here. And there are some pretty good items, I think, that go relatively far, but it's tricky. Company potluck, usually if you bring an item, you might have to bring like a crock pot to keep it warm in. I know Max does that with his wonderful matzo ball soup. I know that a few people bring in various items. I try to usually bring in like, I brought in tostones in the past. I've tried to bring in stuff specifically for my culture. But as far as the best item to bring, it's like 1 bite brownie or cheesecake bites. That's it. It's the little 1 bite.
Oh,
The little 1 bite circle.
Little ones.
Yeah, just the little ones, right? Nobody wants a whole sweet. Nobody ever. But they will eat a dozen cheesecake bites that are 2-bite cheesecake bites, 2 like little brownie bites.
Those brownie bites there's crack cocaine in those brownie
Correct.
bites.
They are absolutely addicting. And more so, again, like I said, like you're going to roam around. Maybe you're going to get sick of eating like savory things. Like, someone brought lasagna and someone brought some fried chicken and someone brought this, right? That's all great. But eventually you're going to get sick of that. And you know what you're not going to get sick of? Those 2-bite cheesecake and brownies. You're not going to. You're just going to, a million of those. And like, they're never not bad either, right? Like they're made by various companies. Sometimes they're made by the supermarket. You purchase them. And for some reason, as bad as sometimes various treats can be from the store, those hit every time, consistently, like Ketel Marte in his career, right? Maybe undervalued a little bit. Maybe when you first step into the party, maybe people are like, why'd you go out and trade for 2-bite brownie bites? But once those bad boys are laying on the table, they are going to be gone because everybody's going to eat them and you don't have to do any work. I will say that homemade items typically get me more than store-bought items, except in this case. This is the few thing that I'm like, why are we leaving the lid on that thing? Crack those bad boys open. They're going to be gone before they're dry. I promise you that. And Jason Armstrong is asking, Ketel is a brownie bite now. Yeah, right. Sean McFarlane is also calling BS on the limited budget, saying the owner could borrow tax-free against his card collection and we could compete with the Dodgers. And he's not wrong about that. Also, hilarious side note, the Diamondbacks did have like I believe like a Halloween party or some sort of costume dress up either day at work or a contest. It looked like it was a function, maybe an event for the good people that work behind the scenes there at the Diamondbacks. And some of the employees showed up as Ken Kendrick's baseball card collection. It was amazing. It was amazing. Hats off. Hats off to the wonderful people at the Diamondbacks that dressed up as his baseball collection. Damon, we got one more in the chat before we get out of here in the mailbox.
Yeah, I think so. From Purloin.
All right.
I think that's I'm
that's
getting
pretty
that
good.
right.
Purloin.
Yeah, Purloin. Is it possible to have a Roblox game like Regretivator collab with the Diamondbacks?
100%.
This is a Derek question. I'll throw this to Derek.
Yeah, because as this is a dad of a daughter who plays Roblox and constantly makes me spend money on it.
Robux.
Yeah, you're familiar with the Robux.
Oh, yeah.
I am too, because I've spent a small fortune on the Robux.
Actually, I heard that's where all of your PHNX checks are going straight to.
I'm just going to say this in regards to this stuff. As dumb as it is for us adults to see anything like this and think, what the hell is this? Like Cool Bro is asking here in the chat. I will say, like, the Diamondbacks getting involved with dumb things, like baseball in general getting involved with dumb things that kids like, is such a key to
1,000%
still building this interest in baseball. I mean, so many of us were raised on backyard baseball video games and all the stuff that, like when I was a kid, they actually had like cartoons featuring baseball players and such. They had Saturday morning shows, which they still do. Like we see with the NFL broadcast having SpongeBob characters on the thing on Nickelodeon and stuff. Like they still do a good job of that. But Cool Bro said they had a Minecraft theme day. They did. They had Minecraft day. So
and that was great.
I think that's great. Honestly, I think the Diamondbacks need to do more stuff for that kind of generation, no matter how stupid those of us think it is. Five Nights at Freddy's, still very popular. Believe it or not. Five Nights at Freddy's, incredibly popular with the young folk. But anyway, maybe we get that. Maybe we get Baxter as one of the Five Nights at Freddy's characters. That would be terrifying. Especially if he replace those human eyes that are already scary enough with the robot eyes from the movie. It's great. But Emily says
it does sound stupid, I think, Derek, with for a lot of older fans, but like
Sure.
you're so right. Especially, it's part of what goes into my Ketel take about why you have to keep Ketel Marte.
100%. 100%.
Cultivating this fan base in
Yes.
Arizona is so damn important.
Yes.
We are still, even with the added fan support that we've gotten since the World Series run, of which there has been a steady climb and trend.
Especially younger people.
100%.
That lived and died with that team through the playoff run and are now fans forever.
You want to piss them off? Trade the most notable player on the entire team. Maybe Corbin Carroll, but it's one of those two, right? And
trade
then
the guy that had the longest hit streak in postseason.
Exactly. You want to help continue to build this fan base. Do all the stupid little kid things that you can make little kids want to be like, I like the Diamondbacks. I want to ask my parents to take me to the Diamondbacks game. Like, that is so important to what we're trying to build here in this city.
You're so right. And like, again, I just made that comment about the Robux, right? But I'm not joking about that. I have between that and what's like, I don't even want to get into giving away free ads for all these apps that my daughter makes me buy stuff for her in, right? But again, the reason why I do that is the happiness of my daughter. And I know that at times that's what she wants more than money. That's what she wants more than anything, right? So I will do as a father anything for my daughter. And if the thing she wanted to do was go to Diamondbacks games, that would please me so incredibly much, right? Like, I'm like, I love that too, right? It's kind of like when we do have those moments, especially with Marvel movies where our little interest bubbles cross and she's like, I want to go see Fantastic Four tonight. And I'm like, bro, grab your coat. We're getting popcorn. About to see Fantastic Four, right?
Well, that's a treat for Derek as well.
But so is going to baseball games, right? So I mean,
absolutely,
again, it's
for parents,
that for parents that, again, if you get the kids interested and they want to go, then the parents are happy to go because it's not only a wholesome family activity that we get to do together, but if it's going to make you happy and me happy, let's buy them tickets, right? Let's do it. Let's go. We are not here for a long time. We are here for a good time. And the good time part sometimes is about taking your kid to do something that, right, like that you both want to go do. Okay?
I just started this new thing, Derek. It's called YOLO. It stands for You Only Live Once. I just came up with that on the spot here.
You should put that in songs and on T-shirts.
Yeah, I think I might start doing it. I mean, I know this goes without saying, and everybody already knows this, but like, this is such a transplant city, and
100%.
Everybody here is from a different place. And this is the first generation of like, well, I mean, I guess I really am when you consider that, like, when I was a baby, that was when the franchise came here.
You were baptized in the pool, as we discussed earlier.
From like people that are my age, mid-20s and younger, these are people that are all they've ever known is the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's for the first time in this franchise's history.
Yeah.
And you got to take advantage of getting those people locked in because that is how your long-term fan support will continue and grow and get better and better is by the people that are like me passing it down to their kids and vice versa, right? Because there's a lot of people here that are Cleveland Guardians fans. It's shocking how many Guardians fans are here when the Guardians play at Chase Field every year. It blows your mind the amount of Midwest people that are here. And this is like getting kids involved is the first step towards building and growing your own fan base that cares about your franchise. Right. So I'm all in on all the little kid stuff, even if it is a little bit annoying.
It is sometimes. But again, not everything is for all of us. Just like all of these different heritage nights that they have honoring fans from across the world, right? And like, again, there are people that just are citizens of the United States that might question why any of this is important, but it's like, me and my friend Penny lost our mind when they had Puerto Rican Heritage Night and there was a, Diamondbacks jersey available with a Puerto Rican flag on it. So those little things are very important. And even sometimes if it's not important to you, it's important to a big group of people that the Diamondbacks should be catering to and wanting to bring in. They should be wanting every fan that they can get to come into that building and be fans of this team. And again, doing stuff for the kids like you said, it's a big step in building the fan base for the future and beyond, right? But also, Deborah says spring training is oftentimes during kids' spring break. Temperatures here during spring break, amazing. People do come. And like, yeah, again, you take kids out there for spring break, get them, or for spring training, let them see those baseball players up close, get those autographs. It's a great way to get them hooked. Then they start paying attention to baseball. I will say time and time again that video games had a huge impact on my love of sports because that's how I felt like I got to know every guy on the roster versus like, just kind of casually watching sports at one time in my life, right? So it's like
that
all
and
of
baseball
these
cards.
baseball cards. Oh my God, reading the stats, memorizing stuff, quizzing my friends, like all things that got me into baseball.
You don't know Carl Crawford's 2007 average off the top of your head? That's funny.
Obviously, you don't know ball. You don't know ball, but we thank you guys. You guys know ball. We thank you so much for being here. As I've said in the past year, your time is your most valuable commodity. Damon and I thank you for sharing it with us. You can follow us on Twitter at cap_caveman with a K. Damon is at Damon Dog with a DAWG at the end. And we're all Damon's dogs. Bark, bark.
I'm going to war for Ketel on my Twitter right now if you guys want to help.
And he's unrelenting.
We write at dawn.
Relent. Yeah. So also Emily Williams, thank you so much for your super chat. She says, Derek going to eat tacos? Maybe. I usually reserve tacos for Tuesday, so we might wait till tomorrow. But I hope I'm allowed to get them today, Emily, because she said no tacos for me last week. But we appreciate you guys. Love you guys so much. Make sure to follow our show at PHNX_Dbacks. But all roads, as always, lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Please leave a like before you go. Helps us out tremendously. Lets everybody know that you liked us and want to watch the video, want other people to want to watch the video. So thank you guys for that. And of course, as always, we appreciate your guys' time. We will see you back here tomorrow at 12 p.m. noon with more on some free agents that the Diamondbacks should maybe be going after this offseason, including Chris Bassett, as well as more on everything going on in the MLB world. So again, we thank you guys for your time. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Behave yourselves, Ryan. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you don't do stupid things to sacrifice fans and your own career.
We all silly like the mayor.